I'm going to surprise my wife with the world's most satisfyingly organized box of chocolates, complete with 3D printed custom compartments crammed with color-coded candies. But this is no ordinary 3D print, because this is no ordinary 3D printer. Instead of plastic filament, this machine cranks out molten lines of rich, creamy chocolate. That's right, this isn't just a box of chocolates. The boxes are chocolates. We are going to build a CocoPress chocolate printer and use it to make the world's first edible Gridfinity storage system for Valentine's Day. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways in 42mm increments. Today at Voidstar Chocolate Lab. Ladies, gentlemen, and cyborgs, monogamy is the life for me, but you are an intellectual, and your polycule includes science, technology, engineering, and math. So I'm inviting you to consummate your love of learning with today's sponsor, Brilliant.org. It's the perfect place to explore data science, programming, and countless other skills that, unlike a chocolate 3D printer, are useful in real life. Tough concepts like vector math look befuddling on a blackboard, but Brilliant's interactive lessons make it fun. Through experimentation and play, you'll build intuitive understanding without all the obnoxious studying. Brilliant adapts to your learning style and customizes the content, so no matter what your skill level and no matter how much of it you already know, you'll get the support you need and the challenge you crave without ever feeling judged or pressured. If you're watching this, you might have some crazy ideas for crazy mechanisms that you'd like to build. Brilliant's lessons on scientific thinking are the perfect starting point. Making rigid structures with minimal material, chaining together levers and gears, balancing volume and surface area. These are all critical skills you'll actually use in 3D printing, and Brilliant makes them approachable for anyone. Enrich your life with some fresh skills and knowledge. Go to brilliant.org/Zach Friedman and get started absolutely free for 30 days. And if you're one of the first 200, save 20% off an annual premium subscription. Thousands of lessons are yours to try and new ones drop all the time, so head to brilliant.org/Zach Friedman. Anyways, let's do some printing in 3D! So, fun fact, I haven't bought a 3D printer out of pocket since I started this channel. All these printers are promotional freebies and or bribes. Sometimes it's hard to tell. But I basically built this channel off this Prusa Mark III I called the Sultan of Squirt. I bought that while I was still a freelance prototyper to replace my first printer, MakerBot Replicator 2, that was just so crappy it never got a squirt donem. But last year, I went to the first Rocky Mountain RepRap Fest, and I knew it was time to break my streak and pay full price for the first time since 2018. I'm on a quest to print a boat called a 3D Benchy with every kind of filament. Link up. Wait, where's my left? Link up there. I've tried over 200 different materials so far, but not a single one has been edible. Well, here was this random mad woman additively manufacturing nautical-themed benchmarks the human body is capable of turning into poop. This is Ellie Rose, and I was one of the first people to taste her incredible edible 3D printer, the CocoPress. Okay, technically it wasn't edible filament, it was printed from a candle-shaped stick of slightly saggy dark chocolate. Look, I'm trying to eat a boat, I'll take what I can get. In the history of 3D printing, there's actually a critical link between dessert fabrication and democratization. It's the great-great-grandfather of my first printer, the MakerBot Cupcake CNC. It really could extrude buttercream onto paper-wrapped pastry-based build surfaces. That stunt gained MakerBot so much press, it arguably helped the Cupcake successor, the Thingomatic, become the first mass-market 3D printer. It even inspired like a whole episode of Futurama.
How long will it take?
4 or 5 hours.
Shall we adjourn to the porn folder?
But this tasty nugget of lore is largely forgotten because food printers kind of suck. Filament is real easy to print. A notched wheel grips the solid plastic, shoves it into a heater, and melts it into place. But there just aren't any edible substances that act like that. But here at Ermurf, which will never get less awkward to say, CocoPress had done the impossible. Their machine could actually build up recognizable three-dimensional cocoa-based knickknacks, even in a sticky, overcrowded nerd fiesta. And they were taking pre-orders. Since starting the channel, I had never seen Brooke get excited about a 3D printer. Ever. So I placed an order for one of the very first CocoPress printers. At least I thought I was buying a printer. A few months later, when my order arrives, I bust open the box, and goddammit, it's a kit. And I have to manufacture the rest of the parts with a boring, non-chocolate 3D printer. So what filament goes best with chocolate? Cookie Cat. This is an American manufacturer with a delightful range of whimsical colors. Well, it just so happened that CookieCAD had released PETG, which is CocoPress's recommended material. And when I ran into the team at the equally obnoxiously acronym Sanjay Mortimer Rep Rap Fest, I was in primo mooching position. Their generosity will endow my CocoPress with more gradients than albino black sheep. And if you get that reference, explain it to your grandchildren. Bear in mind, the kit does not include gummies. Bear in mind. As far as printers go, the CocoPress is bare bones. Bare bones. There's no heated bed, there's no runout sensor, there's neither a part cooling fan nor an extruding fan, because none of these would help. The whole extruder is wrapped in heaters, holding the entire chocolate supply at a consistent melted temperature before, during, and after printing. Here's where we introduce CocoPress's secret sauce, secret chocolate sauce. The printer outsquirts its predecessors because the chocolate being melted is not melting chocolate. The discs you can buy at a Chefy baking shop are called couverture chocolate. Zach from the future here. Before you make a fool of yourself in the comments, I just want you to know it is pronounced couverture, not coverture. The CocoPress docs have it wrong. So, you know, don't fuck with me. When melted, this stuff's high cocoa butter content makes it flow like water, so when you pour it into a mold, it can work into every nook and cranny. But this stuff is so liquid, if you try to print it, you get a puddle instead of a model. Ellie tried to solve this in the CocoPress's predecessor, the Chef, by enclosing the entire print volume in a mini fridge. That was a little impractical. So CocoPress built this machine around compound chocolate. This stuff trades most of the cocoa butter for palm oil, which still melts, but instead of going liquid, it stays dummy thick. That's why chocolate chips come out of the oven still shaped like chips. Compound chocolate can hold its shape even at temperatures that bake batter. When it leaves the nozzle, it stays put, and it's so gloopy you can lay the next layer right on top of it without waiting for it to go solid. In a room temperature room, the CocoPress prints at only about 33.1 Celsius, which is about as warm as the wallet in your pocket. Why not cool that wallet by pulling it out and sending me a few bucks on Patreon? It lets me buy experimental hardware from trans women-owned small businesses and improves the thermal performance of your cheeks. So after months of waiting, days of prep, hours of assembly, I finally had myself a fully functional food-fusing fabricator fueled by solid chocolate. I couldn't not call it Glen Coco. You go Glen Coco. First order of business, print a Benchy. Second order of business, eat the Benchy. Third order of business, I did not plan this far. For the first time in the history of 3D printing, I had spent an unimaginable amount of time and money building a brand new printer with no idea of what I would actually do with it. I had plenty of options. The CocoPress might use a funky material, but it's still just a 3D printer. You drag a regular STL into the regular Prusa slicer, except instead of PLA, you pick CHOCOLATE. What are they printing?
Chocolate!
What are you printing?
Chocolate!
What are they printing? Then it hit me. I've printed a lot of crap on this channel, but one project reigns supreme. The most popular, the most influential, the most infinite. This is my Gridfinity Modular Organizer, a system of interchangeable base plates and storage blocks that transforms any flat surface into an intensely satisfying custom caddy. Valentine's Day was coming up. Brooke loves chocolate. Brooke loves organizers. I love Brooke. So I decided I would put Gridfinity where it's never been before, into the human stomach. Let's get organized. Now this may surprise you, but printing chocolate is different than printing plastic. Chocolate is very sensitive to temperature. If a spool of regular filament says 200 degrees, you could probably run it like anywhere between 185 to 230 and you wouldn't even realize it. 295 if you're Bamboo Lab. But when Ellie says to print at 33.1 Celsius, she means not 33.0, not 33.2. 33.1 is the temperature you shall print at, and the temperature you print at shall be 33.1. The wiggle room between a jam, perfection, and a total meltdown is literally tenths of a degree. If a regular printer is under extruding, you can crank the extrusion multiplier to compensate. But in the chocolate dimension, this won't help, because the sickness is the thickness. The bottleneck is the nozzle, specifically how much gooey chocolate can get through it per second. If the chocolate is too cold, even by 0.1 degrees, it thickens up, and it doesn't matter how hard it presses on it, it just can't flow quickly enough through the figurative, literal hot gate. On the flip side, if plastic prints get blobby, you can usually fix this by slowing things down to give each layer more time to harden. But chocolate is so finicky, this will actually do the opposite. If you reduce the speed, the nozzle's heat can penetrate even deeper into the model, so it's more likely to collapse under its own weight. Instead, cool your jets, or even better, the whole room. All these printers in here make this workshop so warm the chocolate literally wouldn't set. I had to move the cocoa press to the den, but no matter how tightly tuned the thermostat, the stickiest wickets are the overhangs. Bridging ability, 0. Plastic can kind of stretch across voids, but chocolate instantly plummets to the plate. Support quality, 0. Plastic supports can snap off, but molten chocolate melts and fuses to solid chocolate. Good luck cutting it off without breaking something. To my horror, my chagrin, Gridfinity does not really print well in chocolate. The details are just so thin and delicate that my mighty, meaty man mitts would mash them to mush. You want alliteration? I'll give you alliteration. Luckily, the open source community are golden gods, and one of them called Vector76 made the Gridfinity parametric web generator. This uses OpenSCAD on the backend to crank out ready-to-print custom bins right in your browser. I can now set the walls to 1.6 millimeters. The nozzle is 0.8 millimeters. I could disable the details. I could even add dividers. I filled the plate with test prints, hit go, and ran out of chocolate. I had made, in the parlance of our times, a fucky wucky. Each of these chocolate cores is only 65 grams, and that is not a lot of ammo. A single slot bare bones Gridfinity bin needs almost 20 grams of this stuff, and that grows exponentially as you increase the dimensions, add dividers, put in custom compartments. The end result is my sampler platter ran through the entire reserve before the sockets were even done. I had to carefully calculate which bins to print in which order to make the most of my very limited supply of cocoa cores. I actually f***ed it up and ran out, but Brooke just happened to have a lead on the only other cocoa press in Colorado. Shout out to Justin and the Den Hack hackerspace, the hackerspace of Denver. That's why they call it Den Hack. I would also like to point out a fun bit of trivia. A cocoa press can print a chocolate Gridfinity faster than a Prusa can print a regular Gridfinity. An 0.8 millimeter nozzle doing 0.5 millimeter layers is a lot of chocolate per second. If you were to swap the cocoa press's clunky squirt extruder for a regular one, this could do a 15-minute Benji. I saw this live at Smurf. She was like, "F you, unchocolates your printer." Enough teasing. Let's get down to business. 42 rich, creamy millimeters at a time. We're going to start simple with basic bins, but instead of small parts, it's candy hearts. I stole these spicy cinnamon hearts from cupcake decorating day at the local kindergarten. It was like stealing candy from babies. We also got those crunchy conversation hearts with the adorably G-rated pickup lines. I'm going to be honest, I love these things. I eat them even when it's not Valentine's Day. They're like Necco wafers, but they don't taste like the potpourri on the back of Granny's toilet tank. No further information will be provided. Then we got some M&Ms. I may have gone a little overboard. I was just overcome with thirst for that green M&Mussy. First, we got the basic kind, sorted by color because it makes them taste better. Some colors are actually more rare than others, so be aware this is not a representative sample of population level demographics. The next bin is full of special edition Valentine's M&Ms. I didn't sort these because love comes in all shapes and colors and they're equally important. Speaking of, I got some fatty boom batty peanut butter M&Ms, and that gave me an idea. I went back to the Gridfinity generator and maxed out the wall thickness to generate a solid, featureless block of Gridfinity. I sliced it up with 0 infill, started printing. Here's the punchline. I paused the job just before the top layers, and I filled one with peanut butter and the other with Nutella. I then resumed the job, and the cocoa press printed the final layers right onto the fillings, trapping them in the chocolate, like giant Reese's peanut butter cups. Zach from the future here. Just want to add, I went a little mad with power and I made a third one with caramel sauce and then a fourth one that combines all the toppings. That last one was destroyed in flood. That's right, hot water heater ate it. I then realized I had no way to actually tell which was which, so I printed these little nameplates to go on top and I switched chocolate halfway through to do a 2-color effect. This was a real pain in the butt, so it's very important that you're proud of me. Comment section is right there. It's below the video. I wondered how far I could stretch this, so I whipped you up something special. Some artists sign their work, but artistes like moi become the work. I plopped my 3D scan noggin right onto a Gridfinity socket, paused mid-print, and filled my head to the brim with Pop Rocks. It's just like the real thing. This is actually a common technique to embed magnets, weights, and nuts in regular prints. Not those kind of nuts. I chopped those up and put them in the mini sundae bar, along with sprinkles, maraschino cherries, and of course, a scoop of ice cream. Enjoy watching it slowly melt and ruin everything as I shoot the rest of this footage. Normally I would add whipped cream, but I can only do so much covert whisking before Brooke starts getting suspicious. That's why I added a distraction. She'll forget Cool Whip even exists once she gets fascinated by this piece of cheese. I read that in a book. This bin here contains a shot of whiskey. It's not for Brooke, it's for me. If you want peak performance, you gotta lubricate the printer. I designed this custom storage block to hold test tubes, but why not prop pretzel sticks in prime plucking position? Our next one is a tiny version of Brooke's favorite dessert, the creme brulee, and I've made a huge mistake. Our next one is a tiny creme brulee, which I am bruleeing before scooping it into the chocolate Gridfinity. Why would anyone do it any differently? The space plate's really starting to fill up, so before it's totally covered, let me explain what's going on here. As much as I would have loved to print literally the whole thing out of chocolate, this thing has 4 rows of 10 slots, and it's way too big to run off in chocolate. I don't even think they sent me enough chocolate. I had to use regular filament, so to keep everything food safe, I rebuilt an extruder with fresh parts and a stainless steel nozzle. Please do not put food on your 3D prints. Even if you use a food safe filament, you have been running off a lot of filament that is not food safe. I'm telling you, don't eat off your prints. You will fucking die and I will laugh at your death. So for the filament itself, I used Tolman 910, which is a food-safe dye-free nylon formulated to use regular glue stick as a bed adhesive. That has to be safe to eat. I've seen kids chomp down on glue sticks like they're push pops. Although maybe all that glue eating explains why people are paying for Twitter. Next is Link the Cat's ring holder. I printed a plastic one to keep my wedding band safe when I'm working with resin. Well, now it's edible, and so is the ring. I didn't print this. It's a ring pop. I cheated. Excoriate me in the comments. Excoriate me, daddy. All this chocolate may make Brooke jittery, so I ran off Muzz64's fidget spinner one-piece print in chocolate. Behold the world's only pure chocolate fidget spinner, and watch it actually spin. For like 10 seconds. Turns out chocolate melts when you hold it. Who knew? This is all starting to get a bit unhealthy, so I filled the next bin with fresh fruit to cancel out all the junk foods. We got blueberries, we got strawberries, and I got an idea for a fondue pot to melt chocolate onto said strawberry for sexy purposes. Then I realized resting an open flame on congealed palm oil would be unbelievably unsafe and stupid. So here it is, Steve W91's Gridfinity for tea candle, printed in chocolate. Now that we got a heat source, we can find some more uses for it. Our next bins hold graham crackers and giant marshmallows. Brooke can roast the marshmallow, break off some bin, and smush them in the graham crackers. Et voila, s'mores. They say where there's fire, there's smoke, and where there's smoke, there should be Propella's Smokefinity joint holder. It's proudly displaying 8 fat cones of Colorado's finest absolutely nothing because I want to remain monetized, thank you very much. The Cocoa Press had a hard time with the single wall cylinders. It just builds up so much heat, the zipper sloughs off. The jar next to it is, of course, 3D printed chocolate, and it's full of suspiciously sticky oregano. This is NKC Vic's Gridfinity bottle, and I've actually featured this in a past Gridfinity episode. If you theoretically made this watertight, you would have a chocolate milk bottle. I was getting a little bored of bins, so I put the press to the test with my tallest storage blocks, the tweezer and pick racks. I named the tweezer racks files twizzlerrack.stl because I'm a funny motherfucker. But now I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and my mouth where my money went. These aren't real Twizzlers, by the way. I use Sweethearts ropes because Twizzlers are trash, and if you like Twizzlers, you're trash. Wish I had a Twizzler so I could like do this and there's a Twizzler. The other design is a rack for displaying pics, but my finger slipped and now it's a rack for displaying Pocky. The next bin is a rainbow of M&Ms, individually sorted by color. Didn't I do this already? No. These are M&M minis in a mini 5-compartment bin. Speaking of obnoxious, self-indulgent meta bullshit. Here be Emboli's Gridfinity 3D Benchy stand, displaying a milk chocolate Benchy. For the finishing touch, I added Spotnik 151's Benchy Steam Puff, printed in white chocolate. I had to switch chocolates twice for this one, and it'd be a real pain in the peg leg. So be me hearty and broadside the subscribe button like you're clubbing up the top sale. This be an advertisement. Finally, what kind of Valentine would I be if I didn't get Brooke flowers? I turned this bin into a little garden with some chocolate pudding and crushed Oreo topsoil. The plan was to plant a rose, but what if she eats it? The rose flavor is going to overpower the chocolate. So I got an orchid instead. It's a classic neutrally flavored garnish for tiki drinks, although it does introduce a plot hole. You don't actually plant orchids in soil, they're air plants. The more you know. And that's it. We got 40 slots of chocolate-based storage overflowing with completely normal chocolate box contents. If I move this 1 micron, this liquefied ice cream is going to spill everywhere. So let's bring Brooke here. Moment of truth.
Thanks. It's so organized.
I'd like to thank Brilliant.org for sponsoring this video and CookieCAD for providing some gorgeously garish Pet G. Links to all of these plus the models I featured are below. Also, thanks to my patrons. Their support lets me splash out on esoteric equipment and silly supplies that I need to bring you to the bleeding edge of 3D printing. Right? The melting edge of 3D printing. Each episode, I thank 3 random lab scientist supporters, and today's petit fiches au chocolat are Hemogoblin, Existential Semiotics for Cats Now Without Forward by Haruki Murakami, and King Willem of Orange the Banished Down with Nat the Usurper. Random Dot Choice is great taste today. Super thanks to our collaborators. Microwave, SXP, Schleppy the Schwagster, The Suits Ruined Our Fun, Turner Zay, Bitrot, Roxand, What the Chuck, Phil McCaffrey, The Benevolent Misanthrope, and Zombo DB. I hid their names somewhere in this video, and normally I would make them permanent parts of the 3D printer workshop, but this time I printed their names on chocolate and I ate them. Now they're permanent parts of me!
So weird.
Finally, let's raise a glass to our lab assistant supporters, and then put it down before it melts. Thank you, Sunburnt Cat, Mike Kelly, Travis Packy, Period Clots, Lydia Cabot, Seriously Ladies, Gentlemen, Cyborgs, I love you all, Danny Devoid of Life, King Shaming Walrus, Shane Frederick, 603KB, Nami Nap, Olive Robbins, Run Zach, they're right behind you, Sorceress Emily, Thunder Chicken, Rusty Flute, the Haunted Leaky Water Heater Upstairs, Noah B. Johnson, Land Jesus Will Die for Your Sins, I like that one, The Antifa, Robert the Bob, Trans Rights, Firewatch, Elite Giant, John Loves Jen, Renaud Bataille, Blammo, Onyx Plague, Cullen J. Webb, Laughs Like For Iron Range 7, Zach.say Chorns. Cacophony of Failure, Amanishi, Jamie, Agent Maxwell, Roger Pinkham of the Great Star Theater, Doom Crew Inc., Bradley Carter, Travis Hippa, Cliff Henning. Visit omaha3dprints.com for all your 3D printed RPG product needs, but in chocolate. Dr. Mrs. the Merman, Amir Rahum, Bob Dobbington, VPS Data, Martin Titonium, Juicy Legend, Drinker of Juicy Legendary Fruits, Rihanna 99 and Urch, a very threatening GMT 400, Zachary but shorter, Dak Dastardly seeks Seth's checks, Max Luck is gonna build that lamp, look he had the same name 2 months ago and I tried to warn him. Xanforian, even Bluetooth has a right to repair, Kevin Sumner, Zap, Paul Gibbs, Trump did nothing wrong, 6A, 6F, 6.5, 6E, 7.5, Good Lady Nat, Queen of Lemons, Victor of the Great Citrus Wars, there are some who call me Tim, Pew! Call sign Carrot, Topher, Clayton Easley, Stormby Design, Moonkin, Eddie, Burn It. Partial Eclipse, It's a Sharp Pucker Up, Bound Eyes. Nova Wren, Zach Harvey, Quality Doggo, Cameron McPherson, I changed my Patreon name after every episode. Acorn, Aaron Steers, Nuclear 314, Good Suck, My Dog is Up Bear, General Buck Turgidson, Azunda Wielder of Iron, Heater of Shrink, Micah, I can't think of shit. Friedman, The Cuttle Fish, Quantumly Tingled, Talon Democratic Socialist, and a Pretty Righteous Dude, Dash Zach. Varka, Powerful CCH, probably not 3 raccoons in a trench coat. Ad Demigod, SKL, Jason, Slippy McTooth, Craft Computing, Boulder Creek Yard James, Kermit the OG Frog, The Monk, Timor has an unhealthy obsession with 42mm sized objects. Now it's extra unhealthy. Adam Birch, Scroto Saggins, Jiggle My Puffs, Iron Rain, Circle Zero, Rinry, VK2KTJ, Incognito, Bill Schooler, Fremen, and Alling. I don't know how to pronounce that. DBD, Cameron Ogletree, Michael Kramer Jr., Steven 6'6" figure, 6-pack Schulte, Bryn 6'5" figure for Lauren Wolf Schulte, Michael, Socks McGox, Vajelli, Steve's dad, Big Bird, Tommy What Goes Bump in the Night, Matthew Arrington, Spire, Gate, No Ooh, Nathan Johnson, Michael Roche, Dennis Kempin, Haley Kerman, Sticks Like the River Not the Band, Granville Schmidt, Brad Cox, Robert Breeze, Kevin DeGraff, Cody, Carnermon, Not a Digimon, Evan Kelly, Burnduck 3, subscribe to the Nextler on YouTube, seriously, Protagonist, and yes. Thanks for watching me squirt and then eat it. I'll see you in the future.